Hey guys, what's good? Welcome back part 3 dengan Sarah in Real Big Podcast. So kita nak sambung cerita pula pasal
IMH ke?
IMH. Tapi LT kan, you serve,
Yes.
you have to go through IMH punya procedure. Tadi you mention dekat dalam you jumpa macam-macam banyak orang gila lah because IMH lah kan.
Yeah.
Tapi ni IMH prison. So of course there's a difference lah, IMH prison dengan the normal punya IMH. But you literally, so this IMH prison ni how's the settings? Kira katil?
Okay, I tak pernah masuk IMH normal. So
okay.
I pernah masuk IMH prison. Dia punya setting is macam dormitory.
Okay.
So kirakan all those lifer, diorang duduk dekat behind the dormitory for those remandees atau I mean remandees lah. I think on that point of time I think got two remandees, satu Cina and me lah. Remandees punya bilik is very very kosong. So macam you bayangkan tempat dia is very very eerie tau. So macam katil kosong lah semua all the way. Tapi there is a macam apa tu, jaring bar what they call
pagar gitu lah.
Pagar kan. So pagar dia we can actually communicate dengan the lifer lah. So you know the only information that you can get ni lifer siapa ni lifer. So I berbual dengan nurse sana. Nurse sana pun macam orang gila. Because they betul diorang I think they work like 20 years there semua. So ada yang macam kirakan not nurse lah, macam those housekeeper punya. So bila kita yang normal ni actually they ask me to makan psychiatric ubat semua lah at the point of time lah. I reject lah pasal I rasa I tak gila at the point of time.
But did they diagnose you with mental problem at the point of time?
Every drug addict kebanyakan they is consider macam kalau pergi sana is consider you ada mental problem lah. It can be as you know as apa tu not severe macam mungkin depression, bipolar disorder, borderline personal disorder, personality disorder. So schizophrenia. So kalau ada schizo tu is kirakan dah very kirakan dah severe.
And they have to be handcuffed to the bed lah kira.
Tak juga. Kat sana diorang bebas. Dia bebas to be gila. Kalau kat prison diorang tak bebas jadi gila. So bila diorang kat sana I only like sis ni kes apa dia ni kes apa, you know. So there is one lady yang kirakan tangan dia all the way is like macam hitting dia punya, while she was sitting on the bed she keep hitting dia punya tu peha dia. Okay. So I was like macam kepo lah tanya kalau bohong dia bohong kita lah. So cakap tu kes apa? Oh itu dia potong itu potong anak dia tu, macam potong baby. Tu lepas okay.
Murder lah kira.
Yeah, it's murder. And then another case is like diorang cakap I tanya ni kes apa? Oh ini kes anak dia sakit. Then after that dia suruh tak nak bear with the bill kan. Dia suruh anak dia terjun mati. So dia tak mati. Dia dengan anak dia terjun tapi dia tak mati. Tapi tak tahu daripada tingkat berapa mati. I tak tahu dari tingkat berapa. So is this kind of case. So perempuan tak boleh yat tau. Diorang pun ada yat tapi only for men's side. So bila I tengok men's side turun, I was so shocked when I see there's one man who actually lost dia punya skull. So it was like macam half of the skull missing. Nampak macam bukan manusia lagi loh. So it was so scary lah. Of course bila you ada half of your brain je, you cannot function properly. So he can see from the look is very scary. Kalau I jadi dia pun I dah tak nak hidup lagi. Because there's nothing at the front. Macam flat.
Seramnya.
Yeah, that's
and you can literally see them.
Diorang because diorang tingkat 1. So we are at level 1, they are level 2. So bila diorang turun, diorang ada macam potong-potong rumput ni semua. Kita
But you guys cannot interact with each other lah.
So far kita tak interact lah because siapa yang nak interact? Semua gila. You know, if diorang dah sampai sana, diorang betul-betul dah gone. They are lifer there, or maybe diorang, you know, they cannot be diorang nak kena duduk sana for 20 years. so far yang boleh bergigit ni semua is all those like macam very long sentence kat dalam.
Faham.
So that how.
So how's the sentence like for LT pula? Because 5 years. So after you have served these procedures dekat IMH, and then they send you to prison.
Yeah. So ada surprise lah. So actually during that time I keluar masuk IMH ni semua kan, I was pregnant. So this prison I mengandung. So I mengandung anak low IQ tu. Okay,
sorry to laugh, but it's funny.
Okay, so lah senang kan. Kalau I cakap nama-nama nanti you lupa. Okay, so I was pregnant, and then my body like macam kurus. And then I boleh katakan macam this pregnancy was painful lah. Because it was very painful. Pasal dekat prison you can sleep on a bed, but it's a metal bed. There's no there's no mattress.
Okay.
Nothing. So it's very painful. I pusing kanan, pusing kiri, because the it was a sick bay. Tapi sick bay diorang bukan macam sick bay. The sick bay dia macam it's a metal thing lah, or it's a metal bed lah. It's a metal bed. Then I try to turn right, turn left. Very painful because badan you dah kurus, then your baby inside is very active.
How many months tu you boleh ingat?
I think is I masuk pregnant 3 to 4 months.
Okay. So dah masuk second trimester lah kira.
Yeah, because I dah duduk remand for 3-4 months kan. So then at the point of time satu malam ni terlampau sakit because I think I kurus, dan jari dia dah main-main kat I punya ni. It's so painful. I tak tahu nak bilang you. So I just fake waterbed. So I pergi toilet, I basahkan seluar dia. I cakap, oh my waterbed burst, something like that. So I was rushed to hospital lah. Tapi the thing is, bila I sampai sana, diorang kata it's not even open. You know. But I was like telling the doctor, I want to give birth. I cakap dengan diorang lah.
Tapi tu tengah second trimester lah kira. Dia tengah
8 month lah. Kira kan I dah duduk remand what.
Oh, the last trimester tu lah dah start dia punya uncomfortable dia.
Very very painful lah. So I really want to give birth. So I macam like force myself to give birth macam then I think the doctor send me back.
But can you also share the experience giving birth dekat ni? The first time you gave birth, the point of time was dekat girls home. Tapi this time around kat prison.
Yep.
Can you share with us and walk us through the journey giving birth dalam prison?
Yeah, it's very different because bila doktor tu hantar I balik kan, then I was sitting alone inside the cell kan. Sekali betul-betul my waterbed burst lah. And it was like macam, ma'am, very painful lah macam gitu kan. I nak give birth. The response yang kat dalam, diorang tak macam feel like macam macam emergency gitu. Diorang macam sabarlah, tunggulah. So it is very funny. Pasal I pernah cerita ni pasal give birth ni dekat AOC group lah and Goofy group, and it's very funny lah. I tak tahu macam nak bilang you, funny and sad lah. So bila point of time tu I dah betul-betul dah sakit tau, and then it takes so long for them to bring me out of the cell. Then kirakan dah bawa keluar cell. Then after that waiting for the ambulance. So bila waiting for the ambulance, I tengah kesakitan ni. Sekali bila dah naik ambulans, you tahu tak berapa lama nak tunggu ambulans? I think half to 45 minit. Dah naik ambulans, sekali tiba-tiba ambulans stop kat tengah-tengah expressway. Ambulans tengah tayar pancit bro.
Alamak. Tayar pancit pula dalam banyak hari dia nak pancit time ni pula.
That's the thing. And tayar dia pancit. And do you know how the procedure kalau you nak transfer a prisoner out for another, you have to wait.
The paperwork lah, apa-apa
nak kena
ni
telefon
semua.
prison. They have to ask for all those kind setakat je. So in the middle of expressway, they change me to another tengah sakit, dia tolak.
Tapi you masuk prison punya van tu, dia macam ambulance macam
ambulance. It's totally ambulance.
Oh, it's ambulance lah.
Ambulance.
Cuma officers are there to escort you lah.
Yes, correct.
Okay, and you were handcuffed.
Yes. Oh, definitely. I lupa kan. Of course you the handcuff is not the normal handcuff macam kat. You have to be shackle. That means your leg, your hand, you have to shackle. So dia punya perasaan ni, I macam cakap, ya Allah, apalah aku dah lah tak boleh tahan. Ambulance tayar pancit. They have to wait for the officer. Habis dah pukul 2-3 pagi. Then of course the response is very slow. So bila dah dapat tukar tu, I was dah tukar, terus pergi ni lah. So straight away we go to the hospital.
Tu Changi Hospital.
Diorang give birth kat mana? KK lah.
Oh, dekat KK. Okay. Oh, that's why kena sebagai expressway. Wow. And then Wah, I can't imagine you being in pain because of course I saw how painful my wife was when on the way nak pergi tu sakit. Tapi this time around you kena handcuff, shackle.
Yeah, siapa yang nak give birth kat dalam? I think it's
how you gonna move around with the shackles on you?
I think because kita pregnant, dia kasi kita shackle kat depan. Kalau you are not pregnant, you selalu kena pergi hospital, right? You have to shackle at the back unless you are asthmatic. Asthmatic, then they ask you to shackle in front.
Habis bila you dah sampai hospital tu, like how's the procedure gitu?
Okay, ini kalau I boleh masih ingat lah. So I remember straight away I masuk dekat ward, I was still being shackle. So I masih kena shackle kaki, I have to shackle to the bed. Okay, so it was like macam uncomfortable gila lah babe. Macam mana nak give birth ni. You know, it was like painful, and then your leg cannot move. You know, there's no way.
Kalau you have to push in that position. Because with a shackle.
Yeah, with shackle. There is unless you nak kena transfer ke something, but I think the position is okay. I mean like macam memang position you pun nak kena buka, kan. So the thing is bila you want to move around, because kalau perut tu tengah sakit, it will be like uncomfortable. You mesti nak you know,
tengah contraction tu lagi,
contraction, this kind of thing, right? So nas, and my anak pula yang last ni degil pula, macam lambat pula dia nak keluar, kan. So it was very uncomfortable lah. Macam the feeling, it was painful, and also feel macam ashamed sikit. Because every nurse yang masuk, diorang tahu you daripada budak dalam, diorang tahu you from prison, and then you know, some of them even comment, kau dah you pregnant, you play drug, where's your brain?
Nurse cakap macam gitu.
Yes, but I accept it because at the point of time memang marah, tapi now I accept it. Yeah, kan, at the point of time kau tak fikir ke kau tengah pregnant, kau nak main drug?
Tak boleh minta epidural? Epidural
was not tak boleh.
Oh, memang tak boleh lah. Memang prosedur you're not allowed to.
Yes, kita pakai tu oksigen
lah.
Tapi steam juga babe.
Tapi oksigen dengan shackle tu juga lah.
Yeah lah. So it's oksigen ni kan. Yeah. So then after finally give birth tu, the most painful of it is the separation.
Okay.
Because at that point of time, kira kan I dah besar sikit lah. Dah 23, I know I got kids, I dah married. When I see the moment, I know that the moment I kiss her, that's the last touch that I have. Kira kan dah tak, you won't touch her for another how many 3 years plus. So the feeling was like macam, I don't know how but it was different when I'm 13 kena separate dengan my anak, because we still have touch. Macam kita visit masih open visit, but this one you totally have no touch.
So the moment you give birth, and then you dapat spend time sekejap aja, like literally.
Yeah, because the moment you give her, besok you kena balik prison. There's no macam you can recover inside lah untuk dorang.
Oh, habis they just take the baby away?
Yeah, take the baby. They will put the baby I think for 1 week dekat hospital sampai your family come and claim. Yeah.
Wow, that's very bad. It's very sad lah to.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
Because diorang pun tak boleh hand over the baby to anyhow.
But
kan?
before that, I think confirm orang pun dah bilang you that this is the procedure. Kau dah beranak.
Tak ada lah. Actually because I was remand I tak bercampur sangat.
Yeah, and you didn't expect macam sekejap je kau dah nak ambil anak aku.
Yes, it was like very fast.
Did you really like macam breakdown?
Breakdown, nangis. I was like I know that I whisper, I macam cakap dengan dia, I know I will never see you for 3 years lah. You know, jangan sedih.
Yeah, faham. Wow, 3, yalah of course, because I mean that is a joy that every mom you know would feel bila dia dapat rasa anak dia kan.
Yeah.
Okay, so of course after that bila
because
you dah,
it's prison.
Yeah, it's prison.
Bukan gesum
and you cannot beat the system, right?
Yeah.
So after that you dah kena patah balik the next day. In pain.
Yeah, in pain. But the thing is, dulu we can boleh bawa anak kita masuk prison. Jaga. Dulu memang waktu CWP, the YP punya sel, kita boleh dengar suara baby menangis. So baby, siapa yang beranak kat dalam, if there's no one to take care, they will grow their children in the prison.
For how long diorang boleh jaga anak?
I think until 3 years.
Okay, tapi for your kids kenapa tak boleh?
Because there's someone to take look after, and there's no such thing already. Selalu foreigner. Yes. Sekarang tak. Sekarang foreigner baby pun they will just take away, bring to ni. Straight away they will bring to the ni lah. Apa tu? Rumah anak yatim, something like foster.
Orphanage or foster.
Yep.
And then bila like Yeah, because this time around you pay serve sentence ni dah lama tau. Macam dulu previously DRC1 situ like only 1 year lah kira. Tapi this time around although the sentence is 5 years, ada potong jugalah.
5 years 2 months, potong 3 years 8 months.
Oh, so tu yang you cakap, that's where you mentioned that you will see your daughter.
Yeah, my daughter.
Daughter for the next 3 years.
3 years.
Macam mana tu you overcome all this after you dah
actually my
give birth?
sister yang ambil dia. So my sister macam send dia gambar. She was so cute. I untung lah because this low IQ guy, dia memang ada rupa sikit. So anak dia, I very lucky pasal apa, dia betul-betul kasih my daughter, my last daughter, she was so beautiful lah. Macam I tengok anak, I tengok dia punya gambar, like it's very very, macam I tengok dia time visit. And then the sad thing is just like fast forward lah kita pasal
boleh.
Okay, so fast forward bila dah sampai I mean time to release from prison, right? I saw her. She was so scared of me. Dia macam I panggil Yana, and then
dia dah besar lah dah.
Yeah, she don't even want to visit me dekat ni because she find it so scary dengan gelas ke apa kan. So every time I ask my kakak mana Yana, she never bring. Cakap Yana takut nak masuk dek. Takut. She very scared to go inside. So I was like sad je lah because I only get to see a photo kan at that point of time.
So bila you dah keluar, I think that's where you dapat reconcile balik, dapat jumpa dia.
Tak juga. It was very long. Dia nak ada trust on me. She have like anger issue. She's the most like macam my kakak kata susah nak jaga dia because she have anger issue. She like dia suka cek pasal dengan orang. Kat hantar sekolah pun sekolah panggil ambil dia balik. She just have this different from my other children kan. Yang first and second, they are like very kind. Diorang macam very dengar cakap tapi my third one super rebellious.
Faham. And then berapa lama tu bila you dah keluar? Okay, so before we touch on how you get back to your daughter kan, 3 tahun main sentence, this time around ada tahun tak ada rasa macam wah, I'm not gonna come this place again? And how was like, because this time around I think the longer the sentence, the harder it is to adapt.
Yeah, at this point of time I macam, because I think because of Yana jugalah. Then I say I go out, I think I don't want to be a stupid woman. So I think what I did, because I tak ada PSLE kan. So I literally sign up for N-level kat dalam. So then the prison macam cakap lah, you don't have PSLE, how you want to take N-level? Then I say okay lah, give me entry test lah. Because I masih ada AVR right at the point of time. Then they say okay. So during the entry test, I was like belajar algebra with books. Kira kan dekat dalam ni because I really want, because when I want something, I nak masuk N-level, I nak masuk juga. So I was study algebra sendiri, everything, because I don't even know what's A plus B. You understand, equals to A square, something like that, right? I wasn't, or 2A, sorry.
Actually I also don't know.
A times A equals to 2A, something like that lah. So yeah, and then the entry test I pass lah. So I masuk N-level. Then after that during the N-level I study very hard. I have a buddy who actually, nama dia Melissa. She actually taking degree without any teacher kat dalam. Dia ambil degree for sociology. So she actually sama cellmate dengan I. Dia ajak I sampai I get distinction for N-level. With that N-level, bila I keluar, the first thing I put myself to Temasek Poly. Direct entry to Poly. Something like that.
Dapat masuk lah?
Yeah, direct entry to Poly with N-level because of the result. So I really thanks my friend now lah who taught me.
Lah,
yeah, correct.
So dapat masuk Poly means you dah ada purpose in life lah. Kira
at the point of time,
you dah rasa macam ada purpose.
I take common engineering program, so I also study computer engineering. Then after that, at the point of time, a lot of things coming to me, macam for example business opportunity. I met a business partner, so we are doing glamping together. So study becoming overwhelming because I nak focus on my business. So I forgo my study. So then after that I get more experience. I kerja kedai kereta. I do a lot of things. And then I get married. Jangan lupa. I get married dengan satu lelaki ni.
But your life was distracted with all these things lah. But it's on a good cause lah, because belajar, kerja, business and everything.
Everything lah. Macam I was like, tapi the thing is I was not happy. I pun tak tahu. Even I married pun, I pun tak happy. I just married je lah. But the thing is I tak pernah ada kat rumah pun. So it's like a switch tau. Since kau tak boleh kerja gaji tinggi, kau duduk jaga rumah, aku like kau just help on weekend buat business. Then after that, let me, work day. So I have full-time job and I also handle business. So
the business like glamping ni is your husband lah?
No, it's me.
It's
me, tapi dia macam tolong, be part of it. It started from a partnership lah dengan this girl. So then after that, I ada conflict. Then we went separate way. I opened Love for Picnic and Glamping. So that's when lah. So at the point of time, it was doing very good until one day bila COVID
happened.
COVID happened.
Okay,
so it was like very I have to do refund to all the customer who actually booked for 6 months. Then I also ada office kat Kaki Bukit. So a lot of thing that macam I nak kena pay. And then after that I got cars pasal I jual kereta kan. So of course I beli kereta. Lepas tu my husband kata like he also want car. So he also have car. Something like that lah. So jadi macam it become
dah banyak tanggunan lah kira.
Yeah. And then you tak boleh kerja and you cannot work, right?
You were relying on the glamping business
glamping business and your full-time job because at the point of time I was like working full-time for as a sales dekat Javanese massage. So like selling package ni semua lah. So and at point of time pun is like I betul-betul like lost massage parlour kena tutup.
Because of COVID.
Everything have closed. Then you lost your job, you lost your business. At the point of time I very breakdown lah. Then after that I go and find another job. I masuk kedai kereta ni. It was like very low pay. So I cannot survive lah. How to pay ni macam you understand, right? So it was like macam it's not good lah. It's not good. That's when I pergi jumpa itu budak low IQ dah keluar. Dia dah keluar. So he was like macam like not happy lah. Because at the point of time I divorced him when dia kat dalam. So he's not happy lah. Because it's supposed to be like waiting for him kan. So I don't know lah apa maksud dia lah. So he like actually come. He's the one who actually offer me macam tengok aku ada sejuk, something like that. At a point of time I tak fikir banyak.
Tapi dia dah kahwin that point of time?
I dah kahwin.
Okay.
So, I pun tak tahu kenapa I jumpa dia. So I was like I macam cakap I think I need this lah.
Because
macam,
you were really at the rock bottom of your life.
That's the thing. I tak ada support. I was thinking like very lonely tengah everything I have to burn, like everything burden on me.
That's your husband that point of time, where was he?
He at home. Okay. Dekat rumah. Then after that I don't know lah, there's a lot of lies and everything. Because mungkin kita pun dah macam too many problems. Financial will actually cause marriage to break up.
Yes.
So then after that
he wanted to find an escape zone lah kira.
Yeah. So bila I dah rasa air batu tu, I ambil juga air batu tu, I pergi toilet, I just rasa without any Popeye ke apa kan, tak ada kan. I just go direct je. Bila I taste the first smoke tu, I tak tahu, I will never come back lah. Kirakan I dah tahu, dah gone. Ni confirm. So the next time, the next day I macam dah pergi capai sendiri. And then after that I ajak my husband, kita pergi holiday lah, just like just staycation.
Get away from all this lah.
Just staycation. So bila kat staycation tu, I kat dalam toilet, dia dengar bunyi lighter tuk tuk tuk. So bila dia tengok,
but he knows your past lah.
He know my past. He also baru keluar juga. So
okay.
I cuba fast forward and malah nak cerita pasal dia. So then after that bila kat toilet tu, I just buka lighter tu. Then he was cry. He tengok, apa ni, jangan lah, that he was like nangis lah. He nangis, apa ni, sampai gini sekali ke. And then I was like macam stress kan. I cakap dengan dia, tak apalah, I just want to enjoy. I cakap dengan dia, hisap lah. I tanya dia, I suruh dia hisap. Then I cakap, dia macam tak nak lah. Dia cakap, just hisap lah. I cakap gitu, nak fikir apa lagi, just hisap je. Since I dah langgar, you pun langgar je. So at the point of time, that's how bad I am. Macam then dia hisap lah.
Dan dia pun terjebak juga.
So
okay. And how do you guys get caught?
Okay, kita fast forward pasal dekat tengah-tengah ni dah boring kan. Cerita dia ada banyak gaduh lah. Actually kita tak betul-betul. Cerita dia dah macam kita gaduh, then I have an affair and something like that, all this sort of thing. is come to the point that bila I cakap I dah macam sewa sikit. Okay, what I want to tell you sekarang punya drug compared to last time is really terrible because it really affect my brain. I dah jadi macam tak siuman, I dah jadi macam like tak betul lah. I tak tahu macam nak bilang you. Is totally dulu tak macam gini tau the drug. I pun tak tahu. It's like, so this happen lah. At the point of time kita dah dah betul-betul like cannot make it together. And one day I balik lah. So macam I balik dengan dia. So he was like normal lah macam gitu. So I bilang dia direct, I was like working at some place tau. At that point of time I dah dapat job. I dapat job dekat this place kat Loyang ni. It's a very good job. Tapi because I punya paranoid, I takut dengan ayam-ayam kat sana. So ayam dia macam ayam hutan tu.
Okay. So literally a chicken.
Chicken lah.
Okay.
So this chicken really scare me. I betul-betul takut dengan ayam ni because every time I datang kerja, ayam ni kejar I. Bukan satu diorang panggil member semua. Macam, and they will laugh at you. You pernah dengar ayam ketawa?
Tak pernah.
They literally laugh bit. Macam macam because why? Pasal I takut tengok diorang I panjat dekat ni semua. So I minta berhenti kerja because of ayam-ayam dia. So I cakap dengan boss, I really cannot take it because your chicken always disturb me. I really cannot work.
But back then you dah realise macam benda ni dah buat you rasa macam not normal.
At that point belum realise. I thought it's real. Ni ayam-ayam ni semua mungkin you tahu tak, bila one thing when you are on drug, you always thought that you kena buat orang. Tapi actually you yang buat diri you sendiri.
Yes. Yeah, correct.
You ingatkan you kena buat orang. So orang dah cakap, agaknya ayam tu kau kena buat orang tu pasal ayam kau kejar kau.
Yeah,
you understand tak?
Yeah.
So you dah takut. So I tell my boss I nak berhenti kerja. So at the point of time tu I bilang my husband juga. I cakap dengan dia, aku dah tak nak dengan kau. Aku nak pergi dengan this guy. He cannot take it lah. Dia macam then after that, apalah tengah gaduh gitu sekali. Lepas tu dia just leave the house like that. And they lock the gate lah. And then after that, kejap lagi I dengar ketuk. Orang polis datang. So the police tak panggil nama I tau. The police panggil nama dia. Is Muhammad Hafiq here? You tahu tak, as a wife, you mesti risau kan. Orang polis cari you.
Yep.
I try masuk toilet, I call Hafiq. Dia tak angkat lah, my husband ni. Dia, kenapa dia tak angkat? I try cakap dengan dia, you jangan patah balik, polis tengah cari you.
Okay.
Cerita dia macam gini.
You thought that the police were looking for your husband?
Husband. Sekali lepas tu police kata, can you open the door please? Tu lepas tu it's a one Malay, one Malay guy, one Malay girl, and another one Chinese.
In uniform lah.
Uniform blue. So sorry, we hear shouting in this house lah. Can you let us in? I cakap okay, but Hafiz not here lah. I cakap gitu. Tapi cakap tak apa, just let us in lah. We just want to see the condition of your house. Memang condition teruk lah babe kalau orang dah isap drug kan. So the house was like macam my mother was in the room, then my cat was roaming around, then it was a house in Pasir Ris lah. My house. So then after that, when the police came in, dia tak pergi mana-mana, dia straight pergi ke I punya bag babe. So he like knows what, I think dia buka,
they're coming after you lah kira.
Yeah. Straight away masuk bilik I, terus ambil bag. We check kat dalam ada barang. So I was like,
memang ada barang lah.
Memang ada barang lah, of course, because I want to pack and leave kan. So straight away I dah pekik lah. It's like macam disappointing because kalau kau rasa macam kau tak nak kalau kau tak nak aku keluar ke, like be a man lah. Tak payah nak jadi pautok. He literally call police lah. So I was like, call my mom lah, Ma, Hafiq call police, like that. So police tu having a hard time with me lah, because about 2 to 3 hours I ceritakan dia daripada kecil I gesum sama macam mana I cerita dengan you.
Podcast saja. Ada podcast lah.
I cerita kat dia lah. I cakap, what you all did, you break my family. Because the breakup of my family is because when the police actually I encounter, my father is a very nice person tu. So bila dia gaduh dengan my mom, my mom dulu ada bikin perangai sikit lah. So so my mom suka lari rumah. Okay, waktu gaduh dengan my dad kan. So my dad was a Malaysian. So my dad, I was schooling and my brother was schooling, kalau my mother tak ada kat rumah, only my dad yang kirakan jaga kita. But my father is a Malaysian. Jadi he have to overstay pasal us. So bila my mother come back, ni I cerita lah very fast one. So when my mother come back, dia tak happy dengan my father, he call the police. So the request that I ask the police is very simple, don't handcuff my dad in front of me. Because my dad is a good man, I cakap gitu. Because it's just overstay punya ni.
Yep.
Because of that, because of that trauma, actually, I realised. Because I realised a good man being handcuffed.
Okay,
itu.
Faham.
Because I know my dad is a good man. I cakap, I bilang ni polis lah, I hate you guys, I don't like you all. But I pun tengah macam very paranoid.
Lagipun dengan barang tengah in the
paranoid.
body.
Aku cakap, kau nampak tak jin dekat tembok tu? Kau nampak, you know. Then the polis pun naik takut sampai buka azan. Diorang tak pernah encounter budak tengah trip kan. Diorang ingatkan macam the polis betul-betul macam buka azan. So it was like, I don't know lah if the polis tengok ni it is literally, but these 3 hours the police don't do anything, they just listen. Because I think they think that I went through so much sampai the police just listen. Don't listen I punya anger that I have towards them, you know, like literally. But it's all blaming. At the point of time I was just blaming.
Faham, yeah. I think this is the part where you kena tangkap lah. You kena bawa balik and then they send you for the 4th time. Supposedly it's a LT2 punya sentence.
Yep.
But because luckily for you the system has changed, right? And then that is the part where you went to DRC for the 4th time. So I think we're gonna take a short break again. And this next episode where we're gonna cover on your journey of the 4th time being in DRC and how did you rebuild your life.
Okay.
And to where you are today. So with that guys, kita take a short break. We will continue later part 4 dengan Sarah. With that, settle.